Update to one of Colorado's biggest missing persons cases. Suzanne Morphew's body has been found. That's according to the Colorado Bureau of Investigation.
That's right. They told us they weren't even actually looking for Suzanne when they found her body out there. They were looking for something completely different. But results from the El Paso County Coroner's Office did come back positive today. They said that it is Suzanne's body.
We are learning new details into the investigation of Suzanne Morphew's death. Morphew went missing on Mother's Day of 2020. Her body was found last September in Moffett, 45 miles away from where she was last seen.
On the 10th of May 2020, Suzanne Morphew, a 49-year-old mother and wife, vanished into thin air, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and a family in utter distress. 3 years later, on the 22nd of September 2023, the Colorado Bureau of Investigation stumbled upon Suzanne's remains in Moffett County, reviving interest in a case that had long gone cold. Suzanne's life, prior to her disappearance, was marked by turmoil, with conflicting accounts of the events leading up to that fateful day. Her husband, Barry Morphew, was the prime suspect, with many speculating about his potential involvement in her murder. However, recent evidence has cast doubt on Barry's culpability. The investigation into Suzanne's disappearance was one of the most comprehensive in Colorado's history, involving over 70 investigators who had dedicated 1,000 hours to the case, issued 135 search warrants, and conducted numerous interviews. Despite these extensive efforts, law enforcement had struggled to establish a direct link between Barry and the crime, ultimately leading to the dismissal of charges against him due to insufficient evidence and procedural errors. The discovery of Suzanne's remains, located 50 miles from the original search area, coupled with DNA evidence suggesting a connection to a suspected serial killer, only deepened the mystery. This raised critical questions. Had Barry Morphew been more cunning than authorities had assumed, or had elements from Suzanne's personal life contributed to her tragic fate? Suzanne was born on the 11th of April 1971 to parents Jean and Adrian Alexandria, and was raised alongside her two brothers, David and Andrew. Those who had had the pleasure of knowing her described her as an exceptional, intelligent, and considerate friend. Back in 1998, while still in high school, she had met her future husband, Barry Morphew, and after 6 years of courtship, they had tied the knot. Barry, a gifted baseball player who had signed with the Toronto Blue Jays, had seen his athletic career abruptly ended due to a significant injury, prompting him to embark on a new professional path in horticulture. As the inquiry into Suzanne's disappearance progressed, a more intricate understanding of her life began to surface. Beneath the veneer of an ideal family, the Morphews faced numerous difficulties. Suzanne had dedicated 4 years to teaching before Barry established his successful landscaping business. Together, they cultivated a life in Indiana, raising their 2 daughters, Mallory and Macy. However, in 2014, Suzanne's life was dramatically altered when she received a diagnosis of Hodgkin's lymphoma. Remarkably, she triumphed over cancer not just once, but on 2 separate occasions. In pursuit of a new beginning, the Morphews relocated to Mayville, Colorado, in 2018. This charming town provided an opportunity to reconnect with their daughter Mallory, who was enrolled at Western State University. Their beautiful 7-acre estate, situated in the Rocky Mountains, appeared to be an ideal sanctuary. Barry continued his work as a contractor and became involved with the local volunteer fire department. Meanwhile, Suzanne, having retired from her teaching career, dedicated her time to the church and discovered a newfound enthusiasm for mountain biking. To outsiders, the Morphews seemed to be enjoying a perfect existence. Yet beneath this facade, underlying issues began to surface. The events of May 10th, 2020, would reveal the fractures within their seemingly flawless family. That Mother's Day commenced like any other, albeit with an unusual twist. Barry and the daughters departed the home, leaving Suzanne by herself. Barry had claimed to have a landscaping appointment in Broomfield, a town situated over 200 miles away. However, as investigators later uncovered, this appointment raised more questions than it answered. Was Barry's alibi credible, or was he fabricating a clever excuse? As the day progressed, Suzanne's family began to feel her absence. Her phone went directly to voicemail, and her typical promptness was replaced by an unsettling silence. Unbeknownst to them, Suzanne's disappearance would unravel the intricately woven fabric of their lives, exposing secrets and deceptions that would profoundly impact the very core of their family. As the hours ticked by, the Morphew family's plans for a delightful Mother's Day celebration began to disintegrate. Barry and his daughters were several hours away, blissfully unaware of the troubling events that were unfolding back home. Mallory and Macy had set off on a camping excursion, while Barry was engaged in a landscaping appointment in Broomfield. As the evening drew near, the girls attempted to contact their mother Suzanne to extend their Mother's Day wishes. However, their messages went unanswered, instilling a growing sense of worry within them. Suzanne was known for her active presence on social media, and her daughters had anticipated that she would be sharing updates from a friend's daughter's wedding. The lack of communication was unsettling. As anxiety mounted, Mallory and Macy reached out to their neighbor, Martin Ritter, and his wife, requesting that they check on Suzanne. Mrs. Ritter arrived at the Morphew home around 4 to 4:30 p.m. and found the house vacant with no indication of Suzanne's presence. Barry was informed, and he instructed Mrs. Ritter to look for Suzanne's mountain bike. If it was missing, he knew something was amiss. With a sense of dread, Mrs. Ritter contacted the authorities. The police arrived at the Morphew residence, and Barry, along with his daughters, hurried back to Mayville, anxious for any information regarding Suzanne's location.
Where is it? Where's the bike?
Oh, it's right there.
Where was it?
It was like just right down here in this little embankment right here. So.
As the search escalated, the police uncovered their first significant clue, a promising lead that would advance the investigation. The inquiry into Suzanne's disappearance took a dramatic turn when two deputies stumbled upon her mountain bike in a steep ravine near the Morphew residence. The location suggested a potential accident, but the condition of the bike and surrounding foliage told a different story. There were no skid marks, no damage to the bike, and no signs of a struggle, leading to the impression that the bike had been deliberately placed there. The deputies were perplexed, and their findings only deepened the mystery. Barry's reaction to the news was peculiar. He proposed an implausible theory that a mountain lion could have been involved in Suzanne's disappearance. This marked the beginning of a series of unusual narratives and conclusions that Barry presented to the investigators. As the search for Suzanne continued, numerous individuals noted Barry's strange behavior. He was conspicuous in his absence from the search efforts organized by Suzanne's brother, Andrew, who was skeptical of Barry's account regarding the bike ride. Andrew's suspicions of foul play intensified as Barry's explanations grew increasingly far-fetched. In a secretly recorded conversation, Barry expanded on his mountain lion theory, further baffling the investigators. His statements only served to heighten the confusion, prompting the investigators to consider the possibility that Barry was concealing information. The truth surrounding Suzanne's disappearance remained elusive, but it was evident that Barry's behavior was generating more questions than answers. As the investigation progressed, the spotlight turned to Barry Morphew, Suzanne's husband. A significant discovery on May 9th raised concerns. Suzanne's helmet was found 1 mile from the Morphew residence, precisely along the route indicated by the telemetry data from Barry's truck that he had taken that morning. This coincidence was particularly striking, especially since it contradicted Barry's claim that he had traveled to the Broomfield construction site. In his initial interview, Barry stated that he had awoken at 4:30 a.m. and proceeded directly to Broomfield. However, the telematic records from his Ford F-350 revealed that he had first driven 1 mile west before heading to the construction site. Barry devised a plausible explanation, asserting that he had been scouting for elk earlier that morning to track them later. He even confessed to having a practice of tranquilizing elk and selling their antlers. Nevertheless, investigators remained skeptical. They highlighted the implausibility of spotting elk at 4:30 a.m. due to the prevailing darkness. Barry's alibi began to unravel, and his intricate justifications only intensified the scrutiny. The search for Suzanne persisted, but the investigation was now predominantly centered on her husband. Barry's story was falling apart, bit by bit. He had initially claimed to have woken up at 4:30 a.m. on the day Suzanne went missing. But when questioned further, he revised his statement, saying he hadn't set an alarm and had gotten up on his own. He described the day as one of their best in recent times, with a hike, a steak dinner, and a cozy evening together. However, investigators were about to discover that Barry's account was a complete fabrication. An examination of his phone and vehicle telematics data from May 9th, 2020, revealed a different story. Although Barry and Suzanne had indeed spent the afternoon and evening together, the events hadn't unfolded as Barry had described. The first discrepancy emerged at 2:42 p.m., with erratic movements around the property. Barry had claimed to have been tranquilizing chipmunks, but this excuse only raised more suspicions. At 2:47 p.m., Barry had switched his phone to airplane mode, keeping it that way until 10:17 p.m. Even the steak dinner he had claimed to have shared with his wife was called into question, as only one dirty dish was found instead of two. As the night wore on, more oddities came to light. At 9:30 p.m., an hour after Barry had claimed to have gone to bed with his wife, his vehicle was seen reversing 96 feet from the driveway. Investigators speculated that this could have been the moment he had loaded Suzanne's body into his truck. The records revealed a stunning contradiction. Between 3:25 and 3:48 a.m., the door to Barry's truck opened and closed over 80 times. This suspicious activity hinted at a hidden truth, prompting investigators to scrutinize Barry's actions on May 10th. Further investigation led to a surprising discovery. Interviews with Barry's co-workers revealed that he wasn't scheduled to be in Broomfield that day. Their contract wasn't set to begin until a week later, meaning there was no project to inspect. Barry's account of his activities seemed mundane. However, surveillance footage obtained by the Colorado Bureau of Investigation exposed a different story. The footage showed Barry's truck making repeated suspicious trips to the same locations, contradicting his claims of a simple errand. It appeared Barry was hiding something significant. Surveillance footage contradicted Barry's account, showing him disposing of 5 trash bags near McDonald's and the Holiday Inn. When questioned, Barry provided an implausible explanation, claiming he had been trying to avoid disposal fees to clean his vehicle. However, investigators found no evidence of trash or cleaning materials within his car. Further discrepancies arose when a colleague reported a strong odor of bleach and chlorine emanating from Barry's hotel room, which had occurred just one day after Suzanne's disappearance. Additionally, investigators noted that Barry had changed his attire on multiple occasions throughout the day. As the investigation progressed, a disturbing motive began to emerge. Barry and Suzanne's daughter revealed that the couple's seemingly harmonious marriage had been merely a facade. Text messages retrieved from Suzanne's phone and personal items revealed a relationship that had been fraught with issues, including marital discord, allegations of physical abuse, and concerns over infidelity. Suzanne's Notes app contained a poignant list of grievances, outlining Barry's controlling tendencies, alcohol-related problems, and repeated attempts to access her phone. Her writings expressed a profound sense of desperation and fear, particularly in his presence. The police search of the Morphew residence on May 20th uncovered a startling discovery: a pen that Suzanne had acquired to document Barry's actions. Ironically, it recorded her own extramarital affair instead. This revelation led investigators to Jeff, a high school acquaintance of Suzanne's and purported lover, with whom she had been involved for nearly 2 years. This unexpected development raised significant questions regarding Barry's possible motives and the genuine dynamics of their troubled marriage. As investigators delved deeper into the intricate web of deception and betrayal, they moved closer to uncovering the truth surrounding Suzanne's disappearance. In 2018, investigators cleared Jeff of any involvement in Suzanne's disappearance, shifting their focus to Barry. A note that Suzanne had written 2 days before her disappearance revealed Barry's suspicions about her infidelity. While the spy pen played a significant role, it was not the only crucial evidence that was uncovered in the Morphew residence. Search teams found a tranquilizer dart cap in the family's dryer, a spent bullet casing in the bedroom, a substantial crack in the doorframe, and what appeared to be fragments of Suzanne's journal in the fireplace. They implied that Barry might have orchestrated and carried out his wife's murder on the afternoon of May 9th, 2020. Suzanne's phone records corroborated this timeline. After she had sent 53 texts to her boyfriend and a selfie at 2:10 p.m., her phone activity ceased. The public remained unaware of Barry's suspect status until 2 weeks later, when law enforcement conducted a 2-day excavation at one of Barry's worksites in Salida. In response to the investigation, Barry released an unusual video proclaiming his innocence. Nevertheless, the evidence against him continued to mount. It was not until May 5th, 2021, that Barry Morphew was arrested for his alleged involvement in Suzanne's disappearance and presumed murder. Nevertheless, his inconsistent accounts, numerous falsehoods, and evident motive had bolstered the prosecution's confidence. Barry was charged with first-degree murder, tampering with physical evidence, possession of a dangerous weapon, and attempting to influence a public servant. Further complicating the situation, Barry was subsequently charged with submitting a fraudulent election ballot in Suzanne's name. He had claimed ignorance, believing it would benefit Trump's campaign. In August 2021, Barry pleaded guilty to this charge and was fined $600. A preliminary hearing was held in August 2021. The prosecution contended that Barry had murdered Suzanne on May 9th, 2020, dismembered her remains in a hotel room, disposed of the incriminating tools, and buried her in an unmarked grave. The defense countered by highlighting inconsistencies within the prosecution's account. They noted the absence of human remains in Barry's vehicle and hotel room, the possibility of evidence tampering, and discrepancies in the photographs of the dryer. Additionally, they argued that Barry's dart gun had been inoperative at the time, rendering it incapable of being used in the purported murder. However, the defense's most critical finding was the identification of partial DNA in Suzanne's Range Rover and bike helmet, which did not match Barry's profile. This DNA was associated with 3 unresolved sexual assault cases in Chicago. As the trial date drew near, a startling discovery cast significant doubt on the prosecution's case. The presence of foreign DNA on Suzanne's Range Rover and bike helmet, undisclosed until the hearing, led to allegations of prosecutorial misconduct. The defense argued that this evidence, coupled with another suspect's criminal history, was insufficient to secure a conviction against Barry. The judge postponed his ruling, citing the considerable resources that had been allocated to the case. Ultimately, on 7 September 2021, he decided to proceed, setting Barry's bail at £375,000. Barry was subsequently released from county jail on 20 September 2021, a mere 9 days before the trial. In a remarkable development, the prosecution submitted a motion to dismiss all charges against Barry without prejudice on the 20th of September 2021. This action permitted the possibility of refiling charges should new evidence have emerged. The dismissal sparked widespread astonishment, with Barry seen departing the courthouse accompanied by his daughters. The prosecution's mishandling of evidence and failure to meet deadlines, which resulted in the exclusion of 14 crucial witnesses, had severely undermined their case. On September 22, 2023, investigators uncovered multiple shallow graves in Moffett, Colorado. Suzanne's remains were identified through dental records and a chemotherapy port, located over 50 miles from the original search area near Barry's property. This development prompted inquiries regarding Barry's possible involvement. Although law enforcement confirmed that his truck had not been present in Moffett on the 9th and 10th of May, speculation emerged about potential accomplices. Barry's attorney, Iris Ayton, proposed that Suzanne may have fallen victim to a serial killer, given the location of her remains in a boneyard.
Barry Morphew loves Suzanne Morphew. He loves her, and he misses her, and he wants to know where Suzanne Morphew is.
Meanwhile, Barry initiated an £11.2 million lawsuit against prosecutors, sheriff's offices, and investigators, alleging wrongful accusations related to his wife's disappearance and death. Conclusion: a life was tragically extinguished, and a family left irreparably fractured. Whilst the truth remained obscured, one fact was undeniable. A loving mother and wife were taken from her family, creating an irreplaceable void that could never be filled, leaving the family and investigators with more questions than answers. The question lingered: would the truth ever come to light, or would this disappearance remain a grim, unresolved narrative that would haunt the family for generations to come? Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more true crime stories. Share your thoughts on what drove the perpetrator to commit such a heinous crime. Your opinion matters. Like, share, and comment below. Don't forget to hit the notification bell for updates.